The meter's running, and so am I, from everything I said and the look in your eye. The driver doesn't speak, and I'm grateful for the dark. Just the hum of the engine and my slowly breaking heart. I gave the address of the place I lived before. Not the new apartment, but the old familiar door. Because heartbreak has a GPS that always takes you back to the last place you were whole before everything went black. Red light, hold still. Yellow light, slow down. Green light means go, but I don't wanna be found. Taxi confessions in the backseat of the night. Every street light flashing like a tiny oversight. I'm telling all my secrets to the headrest and the rain. The taxi doesn't judge me for the traffic in my brain. Backseat truth is all I've got tonight. Riding through the city in the neon light. I told the rearview mirror about the fight we had in June. How you said I'm too much and I said you're not enough, and both were true. About the drawer of your things I packed but left beneath the bed. Because removing you from my apartment is easier than my head. The highway opens up and so does something in my chest. The skyline looks like someone scattered diamonds heading west. And even in the sadness there's a beauty I can't name. Like the city saying we've all been there, no one's really to blame. Red light, hold still. Yellow light, slow down. Green light means go, but I'm ready to be found. Taxi confessions in the backseat of the night. Every street light flashing like a tiny oversight. I'm telling all my secrets to the headrest and the rain. The taxi doesn't judge me for the traffic in my brain. Backseat truth is all I've got tonight. Riding through the city in the neon light. The driver finally speaks and says, long night, huh? I laugh and say something like that, yeah. He says I've driven 1,000 broken hearts across this town, and every single one of them eventually came around. It's not advice, it's not a quote, it's just a man who drives and sees enough of human mess to know that love survives. Not always in the shape you want, not always with the same, but the heart keeps hailing taxis and it always knows your name. Taxi confessions, final fare tonight. I see my old building and the kitchen light. The meter stops, but something else begins. The quiet after crying and the space where hope sneaks in. Backseat truth, I'm stepping out the door, a little less together than I was, but somehow more. Keep the change, I tell the night, and walk toward my own front light. won't tell you that goodbye has weight, that it sits in your chest like a stone at the gate, that the word is only 2 syllables long, but it echoes for years like an unfinished song. I rehearsed it in the shower, practiced in the car, whispered it to strangers at the hotel bar. But when I stood in front of you and opened up my mouth, the word went north and everything I meant went south. Gravity pulls harder when you're trying to let go. The heavier the love, the deeper that you know. Gravity of goodbye pulling at my bones. Every step away from you weighs more than stepping stones. I'm not running, I'm just walking really slow through the gravity of goodbye, with nowhere left to go but forward. Even when forward feels like falling, the weight of walking away is the heaviest kind of calling. You looked at me like I was making the mistake of the year, and maybe I was drowning in my fear. But staying in a room where both of us were shrinking small was heavier than any goodbye down the hall. The taxi pulled away and I watched you through the glass, a figure getting smaller like the future and the past, colliding in the rearview in the orange of the night. And I knew that I was breaking, but I also knew I'm right. Gravity pulls harder when you're trying to let go. The heavier the love, the deeper that you know. Gravity of goodbye pulling at my bones. Every step away from you weighs more than stepping stones. I'm not running, I'm just walking really slow through the gravity of goodbye, with nowhere left to go but forward. Even when forward feels like falling, the weight of walking away is the heaviest kind of calling. There's a version of the world where I stayed and we were fine, where we figured out the pieces and we colored in the lines. But this world, the real one, asked me to be brave, and brave is not the mountain, it's the strength to leave the cave. So I carry the goodbye like a boulder up the hill, and every morning it gets lighter, and I think it always will. Not because I loved you less, but because I love me more, and that's the lesson hiding underneath the gravity's floor. Gravity of goodbye. One more step ahead, lighter than I was when I left your doorstep. Every step away from us was toward myself. The gravity of goodbye placed me somewhere else. Not broken, not defeated, not destroyed, just heavy with the love that I deployed into the world, into the sky. The gravity of goodbye taught me how to fly, and now I'm rising, still heavy but rising. There's a museum in my memory with velvet ropes and frames, and every room's a chapter, and every painting has your name. The lighting's always golden because that's how I remember things, and the audio guide whispers in the voice that used to sing. Exhibit A, the coffee shop, December 23rd. You wore that ridiculous sweater, and I pretended not to stir. But the truth is, I was shaking from the moment that you waved. And the museum keeps that moment in a room that's always saved. Welcome to the museum of us, where nothing fades and nothing turns to dust. Museum of us, walk the hallways slow. Every frame's a feeling from not so long ago. The first hello, the last goodbye, and everything between. Museum of us, the most beautiful exhibit I've ever seen. Touch the walls and feel the echoes of our days. Museum of us, where love is on display. Exhibit B, the kitchen and the pasta we burned twice. You said the smoke alarms and applause for our sacrifice. We laughed until the neighbors knocked, and even then we smiled. That room is in the east wing, underneath the tile. Exhibit C, the argument, the one about the keys. When we said everything we shouldn't, standing in the breeze. The museum keeps it honestly behind protective glass, a reminder that the beautiful and terrible both last. Welcome to the museum of us, where nothing fades and nothing turns to dust. Museum of us, walk the hallways slow. Every frame's a feeling from not so long ago. The first hello, the last goodbye, and everything between. Museum of us, the most beautiful exhibit I've ever seen. Touch the walls and feel the echoes of our days. Museum of us, where love is on display. There's a room I haven't opened, it's the one marked with the end, where the colors change from golden to a softer shade of wind. I'll go in there someday, maybe when the missing doesn't sting, when I can look at what we were without wanting everything. But today I'll stay in Exhibit A, where the sweater is slightly warm, and the coffee's always hot, and nothing yet is torn. Because a museum isn't just for things that last forever, it's for things that matter deeply, whether or not they stay together. Museum of us, the lights are dimming now. Closing time is coming, but I'll take a final bow. Every frame's a feeling, and I'm grateful for each one. Museum of us, thank you for the sun. I'll lock the doors, but I won't throw the key. Museum of us, you'll always live in me. The gallery goes quiet, the paintings hold their breath, and somewhere in the silence there's a love that conquers death. Not by lasting, but by mattering, and that's enough for me. Museum of us. Admission's always free. No makeup, the day, just the sound of Sunday breathing in its slow and easy way. The sheets are slightly tangled and the pillow holds my shape, and for once I'm not in any rush to decorate or drape. I caught myself in the mirror on the way to make some tea, and for a half a second I just stood there and liked what I could see. Not because I'm perfect, not because I've changed, but because the light was gentle and I felt within my range. Sunday morning skin, no armor and no walls, just the version of myself before the curtain falls. Sunday morning skin, bare and beautiful and mine, every line and every freckle, living proof of time. I don't need the filter or the angle or the pose. Sunday morning skin is how the real story goes. Bare and beautiful and standing in the light for the first time in forever. I think I got this right. I spent my 20s covering the parts I didn't like, concealer on my sadness, highlighter on the fight. But Sunday mornings taught me that the canvas is the art, that you don't need to paint a smile over a heavy heart. My body's been through seasons and it shows in every way. The summer left its freckles and the winter left the gray, but spring keeps showing up, and so do I in messy form. And there's a kind of beauty in the weathering of storms. Sunday morning skin, no armor and no walls, just the version of myself before the curtain falls. Sunday morning skin, bare and beautiful and mine, every line and every freckle, living proof of time. I don't need the filter or the angle or the pose. Sunday morning skin is how the real story goes. Bare and beautiful and standing in the light for the first time in forever. I think I got this right. To everybody standing in the mirror right now, tracing all the things they trade if the universe allowed, I hope you find a Sunday morning gentle as the dawn, where you look at all you are and decide to carry on. Not in spite of every mark, but because of every scar. You are so much more than what you think your flaws are. Sunday morning skin, one final look, better than any cover of any book. Every line and every beautiful mistake. Sunday morning skin is worth the ache. Bare and beautiful and brilliantly designed. Sunday morning skin was mine. All along I find the tea is getting cold, but I don't mind at all. I'm just standing here, feeling 10 feet tall. They handed me the blueprints of the life I planned at 10. A house with a white fence and love that never bends. But the foundation cracked at 20 and the roof came down at 5. And I stood in the rubble wondering how I'd survive. I picked up the first brick on a Tuesday afternoon. Nothing inspirational, just a woman in a room, deciding that the wreckage was a canvas, not a grave. That the after isn't architecture only broken people make. One brick doesn't look like much, but one brick is more than enough. Architect of after building past the break. Every wall I'm raising is a choice I choose to make. The blueprint changed, the floor plan changed, the address changed too. But the architect of after, she knows exactly what to do. Building past the break with mortar made of tears. The strongest thing I've ever built was built from all my fears. I laid the kitchen first because a kitchen means you eat, and eating means surviving, means I'm back on my own feet. I hung the door without a lock because I'm done with keeping out. The only thing I'm guarding now is the garden of my doubt. The bedroom faces east because I want to see the dawn. A daily architectural reminder to go on. The windows have no curtains and the walls are painted bright because the architect of after built everything toward light. One brick doesn't look like much, but one brick is more than enough. Architect of after building past the break. Every wall I'm raising is a choice I choose to make. The blueprint changed, the floor plan changed, the address changed too. But the architect of after, she knows exactly what to do. Building past the break with mortar made of tears. The strongest thing I've ever built was built from all my fears. There's a room I'm saving for a version of myself who exists somewhere in the future on a yet unbuilt shelf. I don't know what she'll need, a studio, a library, a den, but the room will be ready because the architect believes in when. Not if, but when. Not hope, but plan. Not maybe, someday, but I know I can. Architect of after, the final beam is placed. Every crack, every fracture, every beautifully erased old blueprint that I followed just because I was afraid is now the architecture of the bravest life I've made. Building past the break is how I found my ground. The architect of after turned the rubble into sound. And the house is standing. It's not perfect, but it's mine. Every room, a revolution. Every hallway, a sign that breaking down is just the first draft of building up. The architect of after, and enough. And enough. I found a library book underneath my bed. It was due back in November of 2010. The fine is astronomical if libraries still cared. But I opened it to chapter 5 where someone else had dared to underline a sentence about love being a verb, not a noun, not a feeling, but a thing that you deserve to practice every morning like a language that you learn. And I wondered if the person who underlined that still yearns. Overdue, but right on time. Every late return is a sign. Overdue, library book, 14 years too late. But the words inside are worth a lot more than the weight. Every dog-eared page a lesson that I wasn't ready for. Overdue library book, but I needed something more than punctuality. I needed poetry, an overdue library book that finally set me free. There's a margin note in pencil that says this was about her, and I built an entire love story from a literary blur. Was she tall? Did she read Hemingway or something slightly strange? Did she underline with purpose or an accidental range? I checked the card inside the pocket. Someone named Marie borrowed the same book in 1993, and before her was a Jonathan in 87 fall. And this book has been connecting lonely people through it all. Overdue, but right on time. Every late return is a sign. Overdue library book, 14 years too late. But the words inside are worth a lot more than the weight. Every dog-eared page a lesson that I wasn't ready for. Overdue library book, but I needed something more than punctuality. I needed poetry, an overdue library book that finally set me free. I walked into the library for the first time in a decade. The smell of paper hit me like an emotional grenade. I put the book on the return desk with a note inside that read, "Thank you for the 14 years I finally read what needed to be said." The librarian just smiled and scanned the barcode on the spine and said, "You know, the beautiful thing about overdue is it means you took the time." Overdue library book, this is the final page. Every word I needed found me at the perfect age. Not when I was young and fast and thought I knew it all, but now when I am slow enough to hear the quiet call. Overdue library book, returned with love. Some things are right on time from far above. I walked out the door into the sun, 14 years late, but the reading's done. And somewhere out there, Marie understands that the best books find you when you're finally ready to hold them in both hands. You're the name I call at 2 a.m. when the ceiling feels too low. The person who shows up with soup when I don't even let you know. You learn my allergies by heart, my coffee order and my fears. And you've been quietly collecting all my happy and my tears. I don't thank you enough for the ordinary kind of love. Not the movie kind, not the firework kind, but the Tuesday afternoon kind of love. The one that texts just checking in and means it every time. The safety net that doesn't need to rhyme. You don't always catch me, but you're always there to try. The safety net I never asked for underneath my sky. Safety net person, you're the thread I can't describe. The one who holds the corners when I'm coming undone inside. You don't wear a cape or make a speech or write it on a wall, but every time I stumble, you're the reason I don't fall. Safety net person, more than I deserve. The quietest kind of hero and the steadiest kind of nerve. You drove for hours in the rain because I said I'm kinda sad. You didn't fix it, didn't lecture, didn't tell me what I had. You just sat beside me on the floor and shared your fries. And sometimes love is just someone who sits with you while you cry. You remember anniversaries of the things that broke my heart. Not to bring them up, but just in case I need a head start on the grief that sometimes sneaks back in on unexpected days. And you handle it with gentleness that I will spend my life trying to repay. You don't always catch me, but you're always there to try. The safety net I never asked for underneath my sky. Safety net person, you're the thread I can't describe. The one who holds the corners when I'm coming undone inside. You don't wear a cape or make a speech or write it on a wall, but every time I stumble, you're the reason I don't fall. Safety net person, more than I deserve. The quietest kind of hero and the steadiest kind of nerve. I know I'm not the easiest to love or even like. Some days I'm a thunderstorm and some days I'm a hike. But you show up for the weather, every version, every mood. And you never make me feel like I'm a burden or a feud. So this song's for every person who's the safety net in someone's life. The unsung background music in the chaos and the strife. You matter more than grand gestures, and I need you here to know that the net you've built beneath me is the reason that I grow. Safety net person, one more thing before I'm through. The strongest thing about my life is simply knowing you. You don't wear a cape or make a speech or ask for anything at all, but I hope you know you're everything, the reason I stand tall. The net, the thread, the hand, the friend, my safety net person, until the very end. And if you ever fall, I'll be your net too. That's the least and the most I can do. pressed my thumb against the window, left a print upon the glass, a tiny swirl of who I am that probably won't last. The rain will wash it off by morning, like it washes everything. But for now it's proof that I was here, and that's a gentle thing. I used to wanna be someone whose fingerprints were gold, whose touch could change the weather, whose story would be told. But now I think the beauty is the smallness of the mark, a thumbprint on a window in the ordinary dark. There's only one of me, and that used to feel like not enough. But tonight it feels like everything, including all the rough. Fingerprint lullaby, singing me to sleep. Every whirl and ridge a promise that I'll keep. There's only one of me and 7 billion lives, and that's not lonely, that's the rarest kind of life. Fingerprint lullaby, soft against the pain. I'll never be repeated, and I'll never be the same. And that's okay, that's more than okay. That's the lullaby I'll sing at the end of every day. I have a freckle on my left hand that my mother has as well, and a way of laughing quietly that only close friends tell. My handwriting is terrible, my singing slightly flat, but the combination of it all, there's no one else like that. The algorithms want to smooth me into someone I am not, a filtered, calculated, carefully constructed dot. But a fingerprint is messy, it's imperfect by design, and the only thing that makes it work is that it's genuinely mine. There's only one of me, and that used to feel like not enough. But tonight it feels like everything, including all the rough. Fingerprint lullaby, singing me to sleep. Every whirl and ridge a promise that I'll keep. There's only one of me and 7 billion lives, and that's not lonely, that's the rarest kind of life. Fingerprint lullaby, soft against the pain. I'll never be repeated, and I'll never be the same. And that's okay, that's more than okay. That's the lullaby I'll sing at the end of every day. To every person lying awake tonight, wondering if they're enough to make it right, put your thumb against whatever's near, and look at what appears. A universe of lines that can't be forged or faked, the most original thing you've ever made. Without even trying, without even knowing, your fingerprint's been growing since before you took your first breath. Fingerprint lullaby, the gentlest goodnight. Every line on my hand is a reason to fight. Not the loud kind, but the I took the long way home tonight, through streets I've never seen, past a church with open doors and a park that's turning green. The GPS said 14 minutes, but I gave it 42, because the long way home is where I go when I need something true. I passed the school I never went to, and the house I almost bought, the restaurant where I had the worst first date I ever got. But even that's a memory I'm oddly grateful for, 'cause every wrong turn taught me what I was really looking for. The long way home is never wrong, it's just a slower kind of song. The long way home, through every exit and mistake, through every door that closed and every chance I didn't take. The long way home, past every scar and every lesson learned. The long way home is where the best views are earned. Every detour meant something, every wrong turn had a plan. The long way home is how I finally understand. I called my father from the car to tell him I'm okay. He said, "You always say that," and I said, "I mean it more today, because the sunset from this highway is absurdly beautiful, and I spent too many years with my eyes down when the sky was full." I pulled over at a gas station, bought a coffee and a map, not because I'm lost, but because I like the way that paper snaps when you fold it to the section of the place you wanna go, and trace the road with your finger moving beautifully slow. The long way home is never wrong, it's just a slower kind of song. The long way home, through every missed exit and mistake, through every door that closed and every chance I didn't take. The long way home, past every scar and every lesson learned. The long way home is where the best views are earned. Every detour meant something, every wrong turn had a plan. The long way home is how I finally understand. I think about the version of myself at 17, who thought the fastest route was always better than the scene. She would have hated this, the slowness and the stop, but she didn't know that sometimes beauty lives inside the pause. And I'm grateful for the traffic and the rain and the delay, for the road construction in the middle of my day, 'cause every single obstacle that slowed me getting here is the reason I arrived with so much less to fear. The long way home, one final mile, I can see my front porch and it's making me smile. Through every missed exit, through every mistake, the long way home was the best route to take. Every detour meant something, every mile was a friend. The long way home brought me home in the end. inside a book I forgot I owned, pressed between the pages like a flower left alone. The coffee's getting cold, but I don't really mind. Every sip reminds me of a sweeter kind of time. I used to think that love was just a word in someone's song, but then you walked into this room and proved me wrong. The morning light was golden and your laugh was in the air. I didn't know that happiness could catch me unaware. I'm not afraid of falling if you're falling too. Every little moment feels brand new. Closer to golden every time I see your face. Closer to something that the world can't erase. You turn my ordinary into something bright, like sunlit pages turning in the softest light. I never knew that love could feel this still, but here I am, and here you are, and time stands still. The rain came down in April, but you danced without a coat. You said that life's too short to miss a single note. I watched you from the window and I felt my walls come down. You are the sweetest silence in this noisy town. The dishes in the kitchen and the music on the shelf. For the first time in forever, I don't hide myself. You see the cracks and call them art. You hold the broken frame, and somehow every shadow learned the spelling of your name. I never thought I'd find a place where I could rest, but in your arms I'm finally not a guest. Closer to golden every time I see your face. Closer to something that the world can't erase. You turn my ordinary into something bright, like sunlit pages turning in the softest light. I never knew that love could feel this still, but here I am, and here you are, and time stands still. I've been running from myself for 20-something years, building walls with bricks I made from all my fears. But you sat down beside them and you didn't try to climb. You just waited at the door until I said it's time. And now the mornings taste like hope, the evenings taste like home. I don't need to figure out the world when I'm not alone. Closer to golden every time I see your face. Closer to something that the world can't erase. You turn my ordinary into something bright, like sunlit pages turning in the softest light. I never knew that peace could have a name, but now I know it sounds a lot like yours. The book is still half open, the coffee's almost gone, but you and I, we keep on writing a never-ending song. Closer to golden, closer to gold. I practice what to say in front of the bathroom mirror. to 10 and told myself the exit's getting nearer. But every time I reach the door, my hands forget to turn. Some lessons take a lifetime, and I never seem to learn. I wrote your name in pencil so I could erase it clean, but the impression stayed like every almost dream. I'm standing at the edge of brave, but my feet won't move. Halfway between goodbye and something left to prove. I'm paper thin, but I'm still here, holding cards like a chandelier. One wrong move and it all comes down, but at least I'm making sound. Paper thin courage in a heavy world, fragile like the wings of a paper bird. I might not be fearless, but I'm trying tonight. Almost brave is still a kind of light. I'll keep showing up with shaking hands. Maybe that's the bravest kind, to stand. You told me once that strong is overrated anyway, that sometimes just surviving is enough to save the day. I didn't understand it then, I thought you're being kind, but now I know that gentle is the hardest thing to find. The voicemail still unsent, the curses blinking white. I type and then delete it 20 times a night, but maybe that's the point, that love is never clean. It's messy and it's scared and everything between. I'm paper thin, but I'm still here, holding courage like a chandelier. One wrong move and it all comes down, but at least I'm making sound. Paper thin courage in a heavy world, fragile like the wings of a paper bird. I might not be fearless, but I'm trying tonight. Almost brave is still a kind of light. I'll keep showing up with shaking hands. Maybe that's the bravest kind of stand. I used to think that brave men never cried, that courage was a face that never breaks. But now I think the bravest thing I've done is admitting that my heart still aches. So here I am with all my paper armor, thin enough to tear, but still I wear it proud. Maybe brave is not about the roar. Maybe brave is showing up when you wanna disappear. Paper thin courage in a heavy world, fragile like the wings of a paper bird. I might not be fearless, but I'm trying tonight. Almost brave is still a kind of light. And if I fall apart, I'll fall apart in bloom. Paper thin, but still enough to fill this room. I tore the curtains down and let the dust settle where it may. Packed up every picture frame from every better day. The room was finally empty and I thought I'd feel relief, but all I found was echo and the weight of my own grief. I sat there on the bare floor with my back against the wall and realized that emptiness is not the same as small. There's space here for the version of myself I haven't met. The canvas isn't nothing, it's a promise not yet kept. One nail at a time, one color on the wall. finally breathe. I found a box of letters that I wrote but never sent, each one a tiny prayer for a future that I meant. I opened every envelope and read them to the air, and somewhere between the lines I found the courage to repair. The kitchen smells like something new. I'm learning how to cook a meal for one that doesn't feel like giving up the book. I set the table proper with a flower from the yard. Recovery is beautiful, and God, it's really hard. One nail at a time, one color on the wall. I'll rebuild this room, even if I crawl. Rebuild the room with windows that face the sun. Paint the walls with everything I become. Every crack's a story, every stain's a proof that I survived the wreckage, and I'm still here on the roof. I'll hang new curtains, let them dance with the breeze. These walls are mine, and now they finally breathe. I used to think that starting over meant I failed, that broken meant the ship would never be resailed. But now I see the beauty in the rebuild, and the rust that's sometimes falling down is just the prelude to the trust of standing up again with shaking knees and saying to the world, I'm here, and I believe. Rebuild the room with windows that face the sun. Paint the walls with everything I become. This is not an ending, this is where I start. Rebuilding every room inside my heart. The walls are breathing in and breathing out, and for the first time I know what home's about. One nail at a time, one breath at a time. This room is mine, and it's finally I wasn't looking for a reason to believe again. My calendar was empty and I liked it way back then. But you walked in like weather that I didn't check the forecast for. A gentle kind of crashing on my well-defended shore. Your laugh arrived before your name, I heard it from the hall. And something in my chest remembered what it's like to fall. Not the breaking kind of falling, but the floating kind instead. Like snowflakes finding rooftops, finding somewhere soft to land. You didn't knock, you didn't ring, you just appeared like an early spring. Soft collision, beautiful and strange. Two separate worlds that found the same page. I didn't see you coming, but I'm glad you're here. Soft collision, pulling me near, like two stars that wandered off their track and crashed into each other and never looked back. I told you about Tuesday and the way I take my tea. You told me about your grandmother and what she means to you. The conversations grew like gardens neither of us planned, and suddenly the table felt like holding someone's hand. You sent me songs at midnight with no message, just the link. I play them while I wash the dishes, standing at the sink. And every melody felt like a letter in the mail, a quiet way of saying things that words would only fail. You didn't knock, you didn't ring, you just appeared like an early spring. Soft collision, beautiful and strange, two separate worlds that found the same page. I didn't see you coming, but I'm glad you're here. Soft collision, pulling me near, like two stars that wandered off their track and crashed into each other and never looked back. I've been careful for so long, built a fence around my song, but you climbed over with a smile and sat beside me for a while. And I didn't even flinch, I didn't even move an inch. I just let the walls come down and let you be my favorite sound. Soft collision, one more time, beautiful and undesigned. I didn't see you coming, but I'm glad you stayed. Soft collision every day, like two rivers meeting at the bend. This is not the ending, this is where we begin. And if the world gets loud, I'll find you in the crowd. Our quiet little crash, the sweetest aftermath. The alarm went off at 7, but I've been awake since 5, watching how the light decides which shadows stay alive. There's something about mornings that feels honest and exposed, like the world is still in slippers before it's fully clothed. I make the bed because it gives my hands something to do. I fill the kettle, count the seconds, wonder about you. Not in the desperate way I used to, not with heavy chest, but with the quiet understanding that I tried my best. Some things are porcelain, and that's okay. Beautiful because they almost break. Porcelain mornings, fragile and fine, holding together one day at a time. I'm not unbreakable and I don't need to be. The strength and softness, can't you see? The cracks let in the early light, and porcelain mornings make everything right. I used to rush through breakfast, barely tasting what I ate. Always running somewhere, always afraid of being late. the silence and the steam, letting myself linger in the spaces in between. The neighbor's dog is barking and the garbage truck rolls by. Ordinary symphonies beneath an ordinary sky. And I am just a person learning how to take it slow, that not every seed I planted has to immediately grow. Some things are porcelain, and that's okay, beautiful because they almost break. Porcelain mornings, fragile and fine, holding together one day at a time. I'm not unbreakable and I don't need to be. There's strength in softness, can't you see? The cracks let in the early light, and porcelain mornings make everything right. I called my mother yesterday for no reason at all, just to hear her voice between the kitchen and the hall. She said, "You sound different, like you're finally settling in." I said, "I think I'm learning how to let the morning win." So here's to being gentle with the fragile and the small. Here's to every morning that I didn't think I'd see at all. The teacup has a chip, but it still holds the warmth inside. And I'm still here, still pouring, still alive. Porcelain mornings, fragile and fine, holding together one day at a time. I'm learning that broken doesn't mean undone, that fragile things still face the sun. The cracks let in the early light, and I am porcelain and I am right. The light is moving slowly across the kitchen floor, and I don't need the answers, I don't need anything more. Just this morning, just this cup, just the feeling of waking up. There's a library inside my head that's open after dark. Every book's a memory filed between the question marks. Some are dog-eared from the rereading, others gather in dust, but I keep them all because I can't decide which ones to trust. The romance section's messy, and the self-help aisle's a joke. The poetry is tear-stained, and the comedy is broke. But somewhere in the back, there's a shelf I rarely touch, the one that holds the futures where I didn't give up much. Midnight library, doors are open wide. Come and read the stories that I hide. Welcome to the Midnight Library. Walk the quiet aisles, every book's a version of my love, my loss, my trial. Some chapters end in periods and some in question marks, but every single page was written in the dark. The Midnight Library, where I keep it all, the beautiful, the broken, and the barely stand. There's a chapter about the summer when I thought I'd found the one, and a sequel about the autumn when I realized I was wrong. The winter was a thriller where the villain was my doubt, and the spring was a redemption where I finally walked out. I wrote a children's book about the girl I used to be, with illustrations made of every possibility. She didn't know that growing up would cost her so much sleep, but she also didn't know how much love she'd get to keep. Midnight library, doors are open wide. Come and read the stories that I hide. Welcome to the Midnight Library. Walk the quiet aisles. Every book's a version of my love, my loss, my trials. Some chapters end in periods and some in question marks, but every single page was written in the dark. The Midnight Library, where I keep it all, the beautiful, the broken, and the barely standing tall. There's a book I started writing, but I'm scared to see the end. It's about the kind of healing that you do without a friend, where you sit in your own silence and you hold your own damn hand, and you read yourself to sleep because you finally understand that the library's not a prison, it's a monument to time. That every messy chapter was completely by design, and the books I'll never finish are as beautiful as those where I found the final sentence and I finally found the close. Midnight library, one last look around. Every whisper, every page, every sound. I'll keep the doors unlocked for the night, because stories need the dark to find the light. The Midnight Library is mine, and every book inside is right on time.